my old pal Dan Hodges of the Mail on Sunday, who I hope won't mind me suggesting that he hasn't previously proven to be Boris Johnson's fiercest critic, and I mean no malice by that. He's just tweeted that I'm told Boris Johnson has actually made the bodies pile high comment on more than one occasion. So it ain't going away, however hard people like Trevor Kavanagh try to pretend that there is nothing to see here. And that bodies pile high comment is gross, actually. I know it's, just good old Boris and cogito ergo sum, nil est desperandum. I find it repellent, that comment, absolutely repellent. And I speak as someone who hasn't thankfully been touched too closely by coronavirus carnage, but obviously doing this for a living, I've spoken to lots of people who have, and well, we all know how many families have lost a loved one. And for him to have presided over that catastrophic handling of the first wave and then decided that actually we should probably have more deaths rather than any of the other alternatives is disgusting. It's, I mean, the problem, of course, that we face is saturation. As America saw up until last December, well, and beyond in a way, although it's less significant now that the liar-in-chief isn't in power. But there comes a point where it is everywhere you turn. The disgraceful conduct, the lies, the perceived corruption, the cronyism, the unanswered questions, everywhere you turn. So you become inured to the full horror of it. The Prime Minister, the leader of this country, the man who makes all of the decisions, repeatedly expressed a desire to see the bodies piled high in their thousands, rather than do what countries with vastly superior coronavirus records have done and prioritise people's lives over everything else. It was funny. The last lad came on and kindly, it's Patrick in Denmark, wasn't it? Talked about giggles. And yes, you know, we spend 3 hours together every morning. And if I was bombarding you with an undiluted diet of death, you wouldn't hang around. You'd go and, go and listen to something else. And I understand that. And it would be awful for my mental health as well. Do you know, speaking of mental health, Nadine Dorries is, of course, a minister for flags and mental health. And I was looking for something on Twitter the other day, and I found an old tweet of her maligning my mental health. And now she's a minister for mental health appointed by Boris Johnson. I just thought that was quite a neat little illustration of just how completely depraved this entire regime is. Put her in charge of mental health because she used to be a nurse. But here she is on Twitter maligning my mental health, using the kind of language that one wouldn't expect from a schoolyard bully. And now she's actually got political responsibility for mental health matters. Amazing, really, and yet not remotely amazing because of saturation, because it's everywhere. It doesn't stand out anymore. Everywhere you look, men are biting dogs, to coin an old journalistic cliche. So it's stopped being newsworthy. It's as commonplace as dog bites man now. It's quite incredible. But that bodies pile high, and forgive me for not doing this sooner, just for some reason hit me during the 11 o'clock news bulletin. This demands a pause. It demands a pause, and it demands a moment of reflection for every family in the country that has lost a loved one. The Prime Minister thought that more deaths would be the best available option when presented with a choice between lockdown or no lockdown. And then, come November, he did it again. He did it again. He stood up in the House of Commons and described calls for Christmas celebrations to be curtailed as inhuman. And as a direct consequence of that delay and confusion, we saw the biggest loss of life in the ensuing weeks than at any other point in the pandemic. So pause just for a moment and reflect upon the loss, the epic, the catastrophic loss of life, and the sickening idea that the man in charge was bulldozing his way around Downing Street, bellowing about his desire to see even more. And of course the fish rots from the head down. So, where Boris Johnson leads, so his minions follow.